Well, hello everybody and welcome back to another new vlog. I'd like to do something a little bit different today. I want to take a look back at 2021, look at some of the images that I took last year and just kind of talk you through a little bit of my inspiration and what I was feeling at the time when I took those photos. But before we get into the video, please remember to like and subscribe, and you can send me any comments you like about this video as well. And also remember to share this vlog as well. All of that interaction really does help the channel in the future, and I appreciate all your support. Thank you. So starting off in January, which is obviously the best place to start, we were very lucky at the start of January to have quite a bit of frost and freezing fog and cold weather, which was very nice for landscape photography. It meant that I could get out and really capture the essence of that frosty cold weather that we were having. The first image that I want to show you is a triptych of 3 images which I took right at the beginning of January, and as I say, that frost and fog was really heavy, and it gave us some really great light as well. I was quite impressed with how this triptych turned out, because just at the time that I was taking these 3 shots, the light was changing very slightly. The sun was trying to burn through the fog, and it was really giving great illumination on all of that hoarfrost that was on all the plants. On the same day as that triptych was taken, I was also taking some shots earlier in the morning before the fog lifted, and I captured several really interesting shots, one across the lake and a couple in the actual woodland, which I really quite liked, and I hope you like those images too. That leads me nicely into February. The cold weather hung around for a little while in February at the beginning of the month. We lost some of the fog and the mist that we had, but there was a slight addition of extra snow, so that kind of made these woodland paths quite interesting, and also the afternoon light as I was taking these shots was very nice. March, of course, was the beginning of spring, and once we were into spring, then the light started to improve quite a bit, and again it was great to get out into the woodland. But one of the things I like the most about these shots is the way the light kind of dapples through the trees into the woodland itself, and it gives some great shadows and some great contrast within the image, and the colours are fantastic as well. I continued for a short while, and towards the end of April I was lucky enough to get the chance to go to North Wales and spend a few days there, and the temperature was really heating up at this point. We were starting to get some very warm days, so I was quite happy to be able to capture these images. There's a couple of images at the beach that I'm really happy about, particularly the one of the stone in the sand. It's got a bit of moss on the top of it, and it's created kind of a little pool around the stone with the water that's coming from the tide. Looking back on this particular time, I noticed that I was kind of creating some images at this point that were really very interesting portfolio images that would look great within an art portfolio. Moving into May, I really wanted to try something a little bit different with my woodland photography. So what I decided to do was have a look at ICM. Now ICM stands for Intentional Camera Movement, and basically what that means is that whilst the shutter of the camera is open, you actually move the camera up and down, side to side, diagonally, whichever way you see fit, to try and capture an image with some sort of dynamism and some sort of abstraction in the image. And that's what these ICM images are from May. Into June and July, the start of the summer, things really changed a little bit for me, and I noticed a little bit of a change in what I was doing and how I was shooting. That's mainly down to the fact that I upgraded my camera kit. I had at this point been using the Canon 1DS Mark III to shoot all my images, and during June I decided to upgrade to the Canon EOS RP. Now that's obviously a mirrorless camera, so there was a difference there in how everything worked, and I spent June and July really trying to get used to the camera and tried to take a few shots and see just how much of an improvement this camera was. One thing I think we all have to consider as landscape photographers is that sometimes using the urban landscape rather than the rural is an interesting scenario as well. So I decided to give that a try myself during August. Now I've done that plenty of times before. Living in Birmingham, it's very easy to do that. So I decided I was going to go into the centre of Birmingham and take a few shots there. It was an interesting experience, but again, I was still trying to get used to using this Canon EOS RP. I love the colours that you get with this camera. Canon's colour science is really absolutely superb, and you really get vibrant colours out of what you capture, especially in the images I've taken here in September. And even into October and November as well, but I'll get to those in just a moment. I like the strong greens that you get with this camera, and I also really enjoy just getting out and about and shooting with it, to be quite honest with you. And I've noticed also that the autofocus system is fantastic. Now obviously going forward there are other cameras now, such as the Canon EOS R5, the EOS R6, and even the EOS R itself, which have even better qualities than the RP. But I'm quite happy with what I've managed to achieve with these images. October was really quite an interesting month because the autumn was very, very warm, unusually warm for autumn, for quite a long period of time. And what that meant was that the colours didn't really kick off too much. You didn't really get any of the golden leaves and the dark greens and any of the leaves falling off the trees that you would normally get in October. But towards the end of October that really started to change a little bit. And going into November, that was even more obvious. At this stage, I was really starting to think about trying to get slightly further afield than just my local park. And that's something that I want to do more and more of in 2022. So hopefully you'll come with me on that journey. But I was really, really impressed with how the colours suddenly started to change towards the end of November, and going through November we were obviously getting a little bit cooler, a little bit wetter, a little bit damper, and losing all the leaves on the trees. I mentioned in one or two of my vlogs around that time that I was really impressed with how everything seems to expose itself within the autumn, you lose all the tree canopy, you lose the leaves and all of the bark on the trees and the branches and the various limbs on the trees all kind of show themselves, and you get a much more interesting woodland at that time of the year. November had quite a sting in its tail actually. Right at the end of the month, the last week and a half, we had two storms that battered this country, Storm Arwen and Storm Barra, and the later storm, Storm Barra, also brought snow and ice, as well as wind and rain, and it was quite an interesting scenario. I managed to get out right at the end of November and capture a couple of shots in the snow, which I was quite surprised about because it was still November. We don't very often get snow here in November. Early in December I managed to get out again and capture some great shots overlooking the lake in Sutton Park, and I did spot at one point some mist and fog just sitting just above the water, and I wanted to try and capture that. What I did unfortunately was miss that shot. Luckily for me though, I carried on walking and managed to get another opportunity a little bit later in the afternoon, as the light was dropping and the fog appeared to come back and reappear over the lake. Luckily for me, I managed to get that shot, but also by this point I was starting to think about a road trip I was taking to North Wales just a week or so after that. That trip to North Wales closed December out quite nicely. I was very glad to be able to get up into the hills of North Wales and take a few shots there, but also capture a few shots looking down the Mouthack estuary towards Barmouth. And I think this is probably one of my favourite shots here that I'm about to show you now. I hope you enjoyed being on this journey with me throughout 2021. I'm looking forward very much to what 2022 brings and how things change for me and what else I do with my photography and where I go. But in the meantime, if you've enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe, share and comment if you really have to. And I look forward to seeing you again on another vlog very soon. Bye for now.